50 years ago, Steven Spielberg directed Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It was his first of many on-screen entanglements with alien life, and he approached it as a conspiracy thriller. Conspiracy thrillers were all the rage at the time, because Watergate and the Vietnam War and the general brazen corruption of the Nixon administration had sown doubt in the American government for the first time. And America's filmmakers were reflecting that growing distrust in the establishment on the big screen. Alan J. Pakula framed that paranoia through a trilogy of ripping yarn thrillers. Brian De Palma and Francis Ford Coppola did their own riffs on Blow Up, and Spielberg made a movie about a shady government cover-up of a UFO sighting. Close Encounters was a massive hit. It introduced the world to Spielberg's fascination with extraterrestrial life, and it remains an enduring classic of sci-fi cinema. Now, half a century later, Spielberg is back to do it again.
Full disclosure to the whole world.
Disclosure Day is coming along during an administration that makes Nixon look like a stand-up guy, when trust in the US government is practically non-existent. It's the perfect time for another Close Encounters-style UFO conspiracy thriller, and it's the perfect time for Spielberg to go back to his roots in genre cinema. I was so pumped for a new Spielberg UFO movie. I get giddy with anticipation anytime there's a new Spielberg film coming out, even when that film is Ready Player One. But there's something special about whenever he tackles aliens. It's like when Ridley Scott does a big historical epic. He's right in his comfort zone. Spielberg has created aliens that we were terrified of, aliens that we fell in love with, and aliens as a metaphor for 9/11. And now he's back with another cinematic treatise on the possibility of first contact. And I have to admit, I'm a little underwhelmed. It saddens me to say this, but as far as Spielberg alien films go, it reminded me more of Crystal Skull than Close Encounters. The plot is all over the place. Some of it really works, some of it really doesn't. It under-explains some things, like exactly how the alien mind control works, and over-explains other things, like the religious themes. Maybe I overhyped it in my head. I liked the movie, I just didn't love it. There are some classic Spielberg laughs in there, with a couple of well-executed sight gags and well-timed one-liners, and there are some really cool moments and striking images, as there are in any Spielberg film. The swooping crane shot of the crop circles forming around Josh O'Connor looked incredible on the big screen, and there's a really exciting car chase through a farmhouse and right up to the edge of a cliff. And there's an isolated sequence. Emily Blunt's alien possession, from her first encounter with the bird to her freak out live on air, might be one of the best things Spielberg has ever directed. There's enough juice in this turkey to be worth the price of admission, and reward a trip to the cinema. But the film doesn't quite come together as a whole. It never adds up to the sum of its parts. While it has some cool set pieces and shots, there's nothing in Disclosure Day that has the unmistakable magic of Barry walking towards the orange glow in Close Encounters, or Elliot and E.T. soaring past a full moon, or even that final camera tilt at the end of The Fabelmans calling back to John Ford's advice about framing. Disclosure Day can't settle on a tone. It can't decide if it wants to be a dark Spielberg movie like Munich, or a light-hearted escapist Spielberg movie like Raiders. It awkwardly tries to mix the paranoia of Close Encounters with the schmaltziness of E.T. It switches back and forth between dark and sappy, so it feels really uneven, and it doesn't have that familiar Spielbergian warmth. Tonally, it feels closer to Leave the World Behind. It's an unusually angry movie for Spielberg. He's called it the final chapter of a spiritual trilogy that started with Close Encounters and E.T., and that War of the Worlds doesn't really count because it was more about his response to 9/11 than his speculation about alien life. But Disclosure Day feels much closer to War of the Worlds. It's gritty and creepy and pissed off. It's pissed off at the government and all the misdirection in the media. The mysteries of Disclosure Day do a good job of keeping you on the hook for the first and second acts, but the film stumbles a bit in its third act when it pulls the mystery together and reveals how the A plot and the B plot are connected. Turning Josh O'Connor and Emily Blunt into some kind of forced dyad was a pretty lame way to pay off all that build-up. If you think about how great the twists in Arrival and Fire in the Sky were, this one feels a lot more like Signs, where the aliens who came to our big blue watery planet are conveniently allergic to water. There's some really janky CGI in the movie too, especially with the animals and the scene with the car on the train tracks. Those effects would have looked so much better and felt so much more substantial if they'd done them practically. This is the guy who brought back old school action filmmaking with the Indiana Jones films. Why is he resorting to using so much weightless CGI?
Come on, this is unbelievable! What kind of is this?
The cast are all fantastic. They all really throw themselves into it. Josh O'Connor once again proves himself to be one of the finest actors working today, and one of the most promising new leading men to come along in the past few years. He never phones it in, never hits a false note, and he's always compelling. Colin Firth is really fun as the baddie, especially whenever he uses alien tech to interrogate people across the space-time continuum. I could watch Coleman Domingo read the instruction manual for a washing machine and be riveted, so I'm not surprised he's one of the best parts of Disclosure Day. After he commanded the screen as Joe Jackson and salvaged the Euphoria finale, Domingo is on some impressive run, and he brings the appropriate gravitas to this kind of UFO truther revolutionary. But Emily Blunt gives the standout performance in the movie. Blunt is a self-confessed Jaws superfan, so she brings 110% to her first starring role in a Spielberg film. It's a great character with a great arc, and Blunt sinks her teeth into every step of her bizarre alien possession. Even when the writing takes a weird Christ the Healer turn, Blunt is still captivating in the role. The only semi-weak link in the ensemble is Bono's Nepo spawn, Eve Hewson. I've enjoyed her in other things I've seen her in, like Jay Kelly and Bridge of Spies, but I don't think she has the chops to convey what she has to convey here. She's dealing with really heavy material where she becomes one of the first humans to witness alien life and questions her faith in God, and I just didn't buy it. I never felt the weight of it.
Boy, you guys are not sucking me into the story at all. I'm just telling you for your own benefit. I'm very aware that I'm watching a play right now.
But part of that might be in how the character is written. She's very hollow and underdeveloped, so there's no room for Hewson to bring any depth to it. Spielberg is using all his Spielbergian tricks behind the camera, but they can't mask plodding plotting or clunky dialogue. David Koepp's script has lots of stiff exposition, characters telling each other things they already know for the audience's benefit, characters stating their feelings out loud for the audience's benefit. It often sounds very awkward, and the actors do their absolute best to make it sound like organic conversation. If anything, the dialogue sounds even more jarring because the visuals look so amazing. The more polish you put on the turd, the more apparent it is that it's a turd. And it's not just the dialogue. Thematically, Disclosure Day is a curious intersection between sci-fi and spirituality, but the religious themes just get clumsier and clumsier throughout the film. In its first act, it poses an interesting question. If you believed in God, then saw undeniable evidence of alien life, would you still believe in God? It's an interesting angle, but it goes off the rails when it turns alien-infused Emily Blunt into some kind of messianic Christ figure. She heals people's trauma by taking the form of their loved ones and telling them what they want to hear. David Koepp used to be one of the most reliable screenwriters in Hollywood. He worked on the original Jurassic Park, the original Mission Impossible, the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. You get the idea. He's the face that launched 1,000 franchises. I think he might have lost his touch. Last year, he came back to the Jurassic franchise and kicked off the plot with a Snickers wrapper. This year, he's got Emily Blunt taking the form of some guy's stepdad to tell him he always loved him like he was his own son, so he'll let her pass. It's like the benevolent flip side of the Keep Summer Safe protocol from Rick and Morty.
Daddy?
Oh my god. Hunter?
Daddy?
What the hell?
In its finest moments, Disclosure Day feels like Spielberg's version of a Brian De Palma version of a Hitchcockian thriller, if that tracks at all. The opening double cross at the wrestling match reminded me of Snake Eyes, and the finale felt just like a De Palma finale, like the prom in Carrie or the mansion showdown in The Fury. Without spoiling what happens, Spielberg builds this ferocious tension as he cross-cuts between 3 or 4 different sets of characters, all in a race against time. The only way it could feel more like Carrie or Blowout or Dressed to Kill is if Pino Donaggio did the score. But Pino Donaggio didn't do the score. It's a Steven Spielberg movie, so John Williams did the score. And as usual, it's an incredible score. It's more understated than his scores tend to be, but you can hear little lilts of his usual whimsy, especially when he's introducing a bad guy. On the whole, Disclosure Day is not a new Spielberg classic. It's not Close Encounters 2.0 or even War of the Worlds 2.0. Project Hail Mary felt more like classic Spielberg than this actual Spielberg movie. But Spielberg is still Spielberg. Even when he makes a movie that's less than great, like Hook or AI or indeed Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, there's still plenty to love. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe and click on the little bell. And also seize the day and call your mom and be kind to yourself.